Hi friends, this is Mangla Prathaban Muralidharan talking to you from India. Those of you who watch this video for the first time, I would like to introduce myself briefly. I'm a curriculum consultant, course designer and developer, textbook editor, teacher educator, and of course, a corporate trainer. I'm also a poet and theater activist. I do podcasting and YouTubing, and you could see my YouTube video now, and it's being subscribed by people across the globe. And you'll find my textbooks in more than 9 countries, and my podcasts are subscribed by people in more than 23 countries. Today, I'm going to talk to you about maximizing learner interests. How do you maximize learning interest? And learner interest is very important for us as teachers and trainers. See, we have to look at participative process of learning. And how do you engage learners throughout the learning process? Do you precipitate learning beyond the classroom? Do you have any idea about creating self-access learning? Is it possible for you to work on self-directed learning? These are very important questions that most of us ask ourselves every now and then. For one reason, any learning takes place only when the learner participates, not just with the learning materials or the instructions or instructional materials. The learners happen to learn a lot from their fellow learners and their teachers. And of course, there is a scope for reflective learning to take place all the time. All that we are today is because of reflective learning. Most of us do understand the importance of creating a roadmap to decode the learning interests of the learners. In a way, I would suggest them to think about understanding learner profiles, their learning interests, and there could be also skill-specific interests. There could be some learners who are highly energetic and enthusiastic about learning to speak well in a target language, but they may not be so keen to understand how to really enhance it by working on their listening skills. They don't really have any idea that listening propels speaking. There could be also some learners who don't have any idea of improving their reading skills, but they would be so much interested to work on their writing skills because all these skills are interrelated. Therefore, you have to work on all the 4 skills. And how do you maximize learner participation? That is the primary objective of any learner, any teacher as well. So teachers have to create interest in the learning materials. They will have to plan their lessons in such a way, their pre-tasking and on-the-task activities and post-task activities could possibly galvanize the learning interest in a big way. Learners continue to inspire fellow learners. So if you have the capacity to attract a learner's interest, then you will have to work on learner involvement and also create reflective learning process. I would always suggest learners to think in terms of understanding and localizing the learning context. So provide them local learning context. How do I do that? It's so easy. I always prefer folk tales or the local mythologies or local folklores, and I would suggest them to keep themselves interested in decoding the local culture and compare this and contextualize whatever they learn. But is that possible on all occasions? When we learn a foreign language, that's a bit difficult. But I would say it's so easy to uh, understand various functions of the target language if we keep contextualizing all that we learn by comparing all that we have got with what they have. For example, the way in which we uh, serve people during a dinner, or rather treat our guests as hosts, then we would get to know that there are certain cultural nuances which are very much prevalent in the local culture may not be reflected in the foreign culture, or what is present in the foreign culture may not be quite relevant here in the local context. So culture specific inputs are so important for us. That could happen only when the teacher is aware of cross-cultural awareness. So maximizing learning potential of the learners or learner potential is to do with three things. One is creating cultural awareness of the target language, number one. Number two, making them participate in the process of learning. Third, interactive learning has to become part of whatever we do. Four, we should keep working on certain specific strategies and techniques of self-assessment. All that assessment has to happen only when things become better. So I would say those of you who would like to work on your learning, keep in mind, so learners continue to pick up new strategies, new techniques by working on certain micro areas or micro skills. So talent mapping is another area that we'll have to really work on, and to keep in mind certain micro areas, for example, learning specific sounds, overcoming MTI, or learning the spelling rules, or understanding the functions of various cohesive devices, giving them sample usages of certain cohesive devices. Nonetheless, we also need to keep in mind that learners have to be given opportunities to practice all that they have learned, create new opportunities of learning, help them to overcome the challenges they face while they make use of those opportunities. Sometimes majority of the learners have psychological challenges, or what we call mind blocks. So you will have to encourage them, motivate them, give them samples of language, and make them use all that they have learned without much of a psychological challenges or emotional challenges. There could be some effective communicators who cannot face the audience. For one reason, they have stage fear. I've seen them struggling to make presentations before a group of audience. In fact, I've mentioned that in my previous video, in which I was talking about how I overcame my stage fear. So it could be overcome provided you have self-confidence. So self-confidence is directly connected to your fluency development. And you have to tell the learners they have to be confident enough to make errors and learn from those errors. And only when you make errors, you understand that there are areas that you can really work on. And if you don't make any errors, that you're not learning. You'll have to really participate in the process of learning by trying to experiment with the language that you have learned. There's nothing wrong in making errors. As non-native speakers, we are bound to make errors. And we could certainly overcome those errors, and maybe by practice. So practice the target language through peer guidance. Apart from this, I would always say learning is also learning to practice. So if I'm going to read a lot, I can't really just work on my reading skills by mastering the vocabulary or collocations or usage, or for that matter, even rhythm. Apart from this, I need to also look at the discourse markers, the functions of various semantic features, and how people contradict, how to provide a contrasting opinion, what sort of social customs are followed while making such interpretations or inferences with others. So these are very important things that we have to keep mastering. And there are occasions when people may not really find it easy to master these nuances. There should be an expert guidance in this regard. So I would say all of you who would like to work on your learning potential or learner potential, you need to work on three things. One, if you want to work on your learning potential, have a micro skill assessment and make a list of micro skills which you need to work on. and keep yourself engaged with the self-assessment and reflective learning. And teachers who would like to maximize learner participation and learner interest have to promote participative learning, involve learners in understanding their challenges, create a roadmap to make them do better. That's all. Otherwise, everything else is going to be easier for them. And I'm sure I can discuss this in detail when I conduct workshops or webinars in any future videos. Those of you who are interested to know more about it, please make sure you can call me up at any point of time, and I'm there to support you. Wish you all success. Have a great day. Bye bye.